Okay, here is the last part of 10.4. This part can be tricky, so we are going to go through this together. All right, now notice that this is the same question as part A. The only difference is the restriction. So let's see how that is going to affect the problem, and then we'll also go back to part A to talk about some things and why that had the answer it did. So this is from 90 to 270. So here's 90 degrees and here is 270. So if I go from 90 to 270, I am in quadrants 2 and 3. Okay, so I have to find all possible answers in quadrants 2 and in 3. So if you were to do the equation and solve it, you have the sine of theta equals 0.4. To solve, you would do the inverse just like we did before, and nothing's going to change when you plug that into your calculator. You're still going to get that it's approximately 23.6 degrees. Now, here's the thing. What you have to make sure is that you found all of the solutions. This is just one of the solutions. There's actually going to be another solution. So this here, the 23.6, that is not in your domain. So this is not between this is not between 90 and 270. So 23.6 is not between 90 and 270. Okay, that's not true. So what we have to do is find the angle in quadrant 2 or in 3 that has the same sine value as the 23.6 degrees. And we're going to do that using reference angles. So your reference angle is going to be the 23.6. So what we do is we go back to the original equation, okay? We can see here that the sine of theta equals 0.4, which means that the sine is positive. So if this is positive, we know that the sine value is positive, okay? So if we're thinking, all right, where am I going to be? Am I going to be in quadrant 2 or am I going to be in quadrant 3? So we'll go to all students take classes. So in which one of these, 2 or 3, is the sign positive? Quadrant 2. So this has to be in quadrant 2 because the sign is positive. And in quadrant 3, it would be negative. So all we have to do here is set up the reference angle in quadrant 3. So what you're trying to do is find the angle. If this is our reference angle, the 23.6 degrees, you're trying to find the actual angle starting at the terminal point. So you're trying to find, oh, what is the angle that starts at 0 and ends at this terminal side here? Okay, so to figure that out, if you're trying to figure out what this entire angle is, we know that the top is 180. This is 23.6 degrees, past 180. Sorry, that's in quadrant 3. So we're going to have to adjust this for quadrant 2. If you were trying to find it in quadrant 3, that's exactly what you would do. You'd add 180 plus that. You are going to have some that are in quadrant 3, but this one is not. So let's draw our reference angle in quadrant 2. And actually, in my original, I did draw both so you could see where these are going to be. So you could use either one. It just depends on if the sign is positive or if the sign is negative. So if this was a negative value, you would actually draw it exactly as I did. But because we're going to go with quadrant 2, we know it's in quadrant 2, we have to find this angle. here. Okay, so I'm just going to draw it again real quick. What you're trying to find is this angle. Well, what we know is this angle here is 23.6. So to find this angle, we just have to do 180 minus 23.6 to get 156.4 degrees. And that is your final answer. Okay, so like I said, this one I know is a little bit trickier. So with this one, we didn't have to worry about finding another answer because that 23.6 was between negative 90 and 90. So it was already in the domain. And we know that the sign was positive. There's not going to be another answer here because the sign is not positive in quadrant 4 in part A. Okay, so for part B, you have the tangent of theta equals -2. So the restrictions, and again, if you don't want to draw them out, you don't have to. You can look at it and say, oh, it's -90 to 90. So you know that's going to be quadrants 1 and 4. Okay, and then if it is the same as the tangent inverse, that's when you can use your calculator. And you can trust that the calculator is going to give you that because it's the same as the tangent inverse. All right, so then the tangent inverse of -2 is going to give you -63.4. So to solve, we did the tangent inverse of -2. We got -63.4 degrees. And then is that between -90 and 90? Yes, it is. So then we know that we found the correct angle. So you don't always have to use the reference angle if it's the same as the inverse. Okay, so D, again, same equation, but now we're looking for this in between 90 and 180. So between 90 and 180 is only one quadrant. So we know that we're looking for this in quadrant 2. By solving using the inverse, we know that the reference angle, if you have -63.4, remember how the reference angle is always going to be positive. Okay, so the reference angle is going to be 63.4. Okay, so the reference angle is always positive. So now I'm just going to draw a visual representation here. So what I'm doing is drawing the reference angle in quadrant 2, since that's where our restriction is. And it is matching up with all students take classes because sine is positive here, which means the tangent is negative. So if this is, the reference angle is 63.4 degrees. I'm going to draw it about right here. What you're trying to find is this angle here. So if this is 63.4, we can do 180 minus 63.4, which gives us 116.6 degrees, which is between 90 and 180. Just seeing if that's lining up. And, yep, we have that. Now, yeah, that's going to be your final answer. I was going to tell you, oh, if you need to find it in quadrant 4, the other place where you'd have this value would be if you added 180 to it, but you don't need to know that for this. Okay, now the last one is the cosine of theta equals 0.778 in between 180 and 360. Okay, so if it's between 180 and 360, we know that's going to be quadrants 3 and 4. So quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. And the cosine inverse is 1 and 2, so that's not the same, so that we are going to have to use the reference angle. So not the same as the inverse. So if it's not the same as the inverse, we're going to use all students take classes. Okay, the cosine is positive, and that's going to happen in quadrant 4. So that's where we're going to draw our reference angle. Okay, so you're going to use the reference angle when the restriction is not the same as the inverse. All right, so let's draw our reference angle. So remember, to find the reference angle, you're going to have to do the cosine inverse. So the cosine inverse of 0.778, using our calculator. Sorry, you can't see my calculator. Is 38.9 degrees. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is draw that in quadrant 4. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find this angle here when I know that this angle is 38.9 degrees. So this one's a little bit different based on its position. You can see that the angle measure I'm trying to find and the reference angle added together is going to be 360. So to find what the measure is of this angle, I just have to do 360 minus 38.9, and I'll get 321.1 degrees, which is in my value there. So I am all set. All right, you have completed 10.4. Yay! And then your homework is on the slide. Thank you.